business is your business. It's all up in my lady business with me, Mary Nisi. Welcome to today's episode of All Up in My Lady Business. It is a solamente episode. It's just me. Melissa is actually running my company right now. So she had to actually work. So I had to be like, oh, womp womp. And even though I am her boss and I can tell her to stop, I also need her to continue making things happen for me. So it's just me today. And I'm going to just answer some questions that have come in over the last couple of weeks. And I thank all of you who have helped me out on that end and given me some content that I can now give to you. The video element of this job of having a podcast, I feel like I'm like openly rebelling against. I look at myself in this and I'm like, wow, I just look like I got out of Pilates, which I did. And I'm not putting makeup on for these. I'm not going to perform for you. This is just who I am. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Anyway, you're listening to All Up in Your Lady Business. I'm Mary Nisi. And here is a question that I got. I manage a team all day and then come home to two little dictators that act like I'm the unpaid intern. When you're running a company and raising humans, where does your actual personality live? Interesting. The question basically is that you're super in charge and in control and you run everything, and then you get home and then you're not the person that's in control. I guess, I mean, aren't you kind of technically in control in both places? God, that's a hard one. So I guess one of the ways I could understand the question is I'm a woman who works all day and then I come home and I'm working like the quote unquote second shift, like the because I think that a lot of women, we wind up kind of falling for the patriarchal, the way that households are run. It largely falls on the mom, on the wife, to be sort of the default parent. And your brain is just, women are just better at multitasking, like we get things done in a way like and so it's hard to not assume some of those duties, especially when you just do them naturally without really thinking about it. And I think that in my marriage, it was, I didn't really realize it fully until the pandemic that I had just, I do all the laundry and I was making most the dinners because my office was 90 seconds from my house. So I could leave at work at, 5 and still come home and make a full dinner. But it was just something that I just kind of fell into. My husband did cook, but it wasn't equal, I wouldn't say, at that point. And then when I had to go back and work, like when we moved the office to Evanston, when I moved outside of the city and then had to start commuting back into the office because we work in the office. And I mean, it's whatever, that's a different conversation, but I worked in the office 3 days a week. And so it's like when I would get home, I wouldn't get home until like 7. And then John would be like, where's for dinner? Where's my food at? And it was like, I realized, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, we've gotten used to me being the normal person that makes the decision about dinner, whether I'm making it or not. And I had to basically say to him, I can't make dinner at all, ever. So let's just pretend like you are, or not pretend, let's make it that you are the dinner person. So I really had to I had to really kind of analyze where the places were where I was just automatically doing things without realizing that I was just falling into that. I basically had to say to John, if you want to have dinner every night in this household, from going forward, like basically dinner is you. And we're just going to always assume that dinner is you Monday through Friday, unless a decision has been made otherwise. And that has been kind of revelatory. I think you have to kind of take your power back, because you shouldn't be like a boss lady at work and then you come home and you're just like under the thumb of patriarchy when you're putting in the exact same amount of time or more or less. I mean, anytime, any money that you're contributing to the will of the well-being of your household, like you're just as important as anybody who's bringing money into the household. So, I am not good at, it's funny. I'm not good at, I guess, like following the rules or being like, I don't know. I feel like, and this is all some stuff that happened after years of therapy and, turning 50, where when I turned 50, there was some weird like thing that switched off in my brain and I stopped giving a fuck about what anybody thought about me. And people making judgments about me based on what I looked like and stuff. Like I even though I still am, you know, following a lot of the prescribed ways that women are supposed to be acting in the world right now, insofar as, exercising and putting on makeup and doing my hair, not wanting to do, like those kinds of things they are choices, but in many ways they don't feel like choices. Like, like I think about like my mom, whenever she would, when we were kids and we go to the grocery store, Rogers Food Man in Omaha, Nebraska, shout out independent businesses. Whenever we go to the grocery store, if she didn't have makeup on, she would wear sunglasses, and she would wear sunglasses indoors. And if she ran into anybody she knew, she'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm leaving my sunglasses on because I don't have any makeup on." Almost 9 times out of 10, people are like, "Okay, I get, like that's a reasonable thing to do." Like if a woman doesn't have makeup on, rather than subject those around her at the grocery store or at the wherever she's going, if you didn't have time to put makeup on, wearing sunglasses indoors is a reasonable expectation to that. Not like, "Oh, Jean, you're beautiful. Like, you don't have to wear makeup." That was never, she wasn't fishing for compliments. She was just like, "I don't want to subject you to my face without makeup." And everyone thought that was okay. And that is fucked up. And so I've been trying more and more to like, just if I don't want to put makeup on when I go somewhere, I'm not doing it, which I know sounds like it shouldn't be that revelatory, but it is. So this isn't really answering your question about my personality. But I guess, I think that prior to the pandemic, my personality was like still, making dinner and changing diapers until it was, potty training and all the other things that came along with it. Like, it feels like my life was very much easier when Sebastian was younger and I could just control everything about him. And then the older he got, the harder that's become. But I do think that in order to maintain your personality, or even figure out who you are, because we're all different people once we have kids. We're all different people once we go through pandemics. We're all different people when we go through job changes or whatever. We expect ourselves to stay the same, but really those are all big changes that, we should be able to kind of flow with and kind of, be able to become the best version of ourselves with these new things that are kind of put on it. But I I was very good at managing all of those things until I realized, why am I managing all these things? Why are we doing all these things? I really would be like panicking about, like when I would have like birthday parties for Sebastian, I would like panic about they need to have a takeaway, like a little, party favor to they take home with themselves. And I would make these dumb bags filled with crap that was, probably made by babies in China, that are made of plastic that probably has phthalates or whatever the things are that, are killing us. Microplastics, just be creating the microplastics, distributing microplastics that will eventually be in all those little boys' testicles and all the girls' brains. And, I really would, every time I did it, I felt like I was like clubbing a baby seal. And it also felt like I was just doing this thing. And I'm like, if I went to a party and Sebastian wasn't handed a favor, would I notice? I would not. And so why am I doing all this? So I stopped doing the favors after a certain point where I'm like, this is stupid. But I guess the thing is that you should be interrogating every single thing that you do. I mean, that's hard to do at every single thing, but but really kind of putting thought in your brains about what you really want to do, especially if you're working full time and then coming home and second shifting it. Cause there's a lot of things we do that we don't have to. And especially right now with the way that the world is changing with, the whatever kind of revolution is happening, because something's happening. Making sure you're living your life as you want to live it. And I'm saying this much to myself. I know I still do lots of things that I don't want to do or that are stupid, but the more intentionally you can live, the better. Ooh, this is a really good one. I'm 6 months sober and still don't know what to do with my hands at parties. You literally work weddings. What do you do with your body when everyone else is 2 martinis in? Well, at 6 months sober, you are still in a fragile place. So, the first year of sobriety is always, it's not always, I don't know, but the one thing I got sober from, uh, it's very fragile. And so, one of the things you can question is whether or not you even want to go to the party. Cause, um, I did a lot of things because I thought that I had to, and or if I didn't show up, that people wouldn't like me. I mean, I have a lot of insecurities around that kind of shit. But then when I quit drinking, it was like, will anyone want to talk to me? Will I even have fun? And one of the things I've come to realize is that being sober at events, I actually have more fun. I actually have way more fun at events now that I don't have the monkey of having to drink on top of it because I'm actually aware of what's happening. I don't say things I won't question the next day. Like I'm more, there at the party instead of just drunk and doing something stupid. But I always come packing. Like I always bring my own drinks to events because nobody ever thinks about the people that aren't drinking. Or if they do, it's a Diet Coke and I don't want to always be drinking Diet Coke. So I unless I'm at like a restaurant or whatever where I can't bring my own stuff in, like I will almost always come packing with my own, either fizzy water or mocktails or, weed drinks. Cause I am, as they say, California sober. I don't drink alcohol, but, I will drink weed. And so making sure you're taking care of yourself when you walk in, bringing your own drinks, making sure that you've got something in your hand that isn't an alcohol. But it's funny, the question about like what to do with your body when everyone else is 2 martinis in. I have come to realize that when I'm at events, when the third drink part happens, so it's like when everybody's had 3 drinks, that's when the wheels start falling off the bus with all of you drinkers. Um, at 3 drinks, it's crazy. Everyone starts repeating themselves. And that's the most most annoying thing is how they're repeating themselves, they're getting loud. And, but the repeating themselves is really weird. It's everyone does it. It's like it's weird. It's like everyone decided on the story they're going to tell that night. And then they say it once and then I hear them tell another person and then they tell me again. The repeating themselves is crazy. And then there's almost always somebody, at the event that needs to corner me and talk to me about their drinking. I don't think I've ever gone to an event where there was drinking, where I wasn't drinking, and someone didn't want to talk to me or tell me about, like, I don't drink that much. I mean, I've been thinking about maybe cutting back too, or I really don't drink that much. I only drink, and they start listing off when they drink and how much they drink. And I'm like, well, if you are this aware of how much you're drinking, then that's how I was before I quit drinking. So maybe you should quit. I don't know, but that's your life. So I know I have to leave when everyone gets to that point. So I guess no, so come packing, bring your own stuff, get high on your own supply, and just know that you can leave when everything gets annoying. And it will get annoying because everyone will start getting sloppy and they'll start hugging you. And then they'll be like, oh, you're not drinking. And I can't be drunk around you. And then it turns into this, like, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. But it does seem like people do kind of come out of the woodwork with their drinking stories and then not wanting to be drunk around me. And it's like, I was wasted around you so many times. It's fine. I did it. I'm not doing it anymore, but I did do it. I was embarrassing at one point. So yeah, I guess that's my quick answer is that, go into it thinking you're going to have a good time because you're going to have a good time and bring your own stuff. And then when everybody starts getting too drunk, you can leave. No one's going to notice. They will not notice if you leave. So the Irish goodbye is actually I mean, I don't ever say goodbye. I've never said goodbye though. That's also kind of my move. Like even when I was go to bars, when I was like a bar person, like I would just hit a point where I was ready to go and I would just leave. Cause if you start saying goodbye to people, it takes forever. And so I would just leave. And then people are like, what happened to you last night? And it's like, well, I left. I didn't want to deal with saying goodbye to you. So that's the answer to that one. Whoa. Okay. So this one is, okay, be honest with me. I got divorced, started lifting. My confidence is up and suddenly my Instagram likes are noticeably higher. Hypothetically, and I mean hypothetically, when does I look good and I know it turn into should I start an OnlyFans? Is that empowerment or chaotic? Oh, there's a lot in here. So I mean, I don't understand how the algorithm works or how likes and stuff work. I don't understand it at all. And so I don't understand when people have engagement. I don't understand. It's not anything I understand. So, your likes being noticeably higher, the algorithm likes you. So I think that when does I look good and I know it turn into OnlyFans is, I mean, you should want to look good and know it for yourself. I mean, that's, just looking good by your own standards is great. And that's, you always look good. I mean, everybody always looks fine. It's just, whether or not you can handle what you look like. Should I start an OnlyFans? So I am very pro sex work. I think that the reason why prostitution is illegal is because it's hard to tax. That is, they might say that it has to do with morality or whatever, but if they could figure out a way to tax it, then sex work would be legal. And sneaky women can just do it by themselves, unless they, get underneath the thumb of a pimp, and that's a different conversation. But I do think that sex work should be legal, and I think that it does need to be taxed. But so I think that if you do want to start an OnlyFans account, fuck yeah, I've never been on it, so I don't really know what the culture is of it. I don't know if they need people to commit, or if you start with feet and then work your way up. I don't know how it works. I've never been on it, but I do make jokes about it. But there's a TV show called Hacks, and there's a subplot with this dance mom who they find this woman, this influencer called Dance Mom, and she's like this Canadian person that dances shittily to songs, and they get her on Deborah's Tonight Show situation, and then she basically spirals out and becomes like a fame whore. And as it turns out, she's not a mom, and she's a drug addict. And so I feel like that would be the chaos, is if you start the OnlyFans, start making a bunch of money, and then use it to put things up your nose. Like that's where the chaos comes in. But I think if you want to do it and it makes you feel cool and you get to make some extra money, make some money off your bod. I don't even think you need to start lifting or anything. I think anybody can just do it right now. Although I do definitely promote lifting, because especially for women over 45, you start losing that bone density. And it really does happen a lot right after you turn like 45 or 50. It's like your bone density goes away. So lifting heavy weights is important. And I am a big fan of lifting heavy weights, because that actually makes you feel like a badass when you are lifting heavy weights. But lift weights on OnlyFans, that might actually be a cool idea, is to just go on OnlyFans, live stream your exercising. I bet you there's some freak that would like to watch that. There's definitely a freak out there that wants to watch it. My friend used to be a dominatrix. I don't think she'd have a hard time with me talking about this, but she used to be a dominatrix, and she was a dominatrix for like 15 years. And she worked at in a dungeon that was in an office in the Loop. Like, it was just in an office building. It's like, an accountant's office, a dentist's office, dungeon. And her clients were all like, C-suite fucking pieces of shit, I'm sure. Just like, hate women. I'm being very generalizing here, but but just they were in a frat. They like college sports. They don't have any female friends. The wives they make fun of all the time. It's kind of like those. And then they go to dungeon, and she's putting them in diapers. And I asked her, I'm like, did you have to have sex with these guys? Like, is that part? And she's like, no, I never had to sex. And no, I was just humiliating them. I was like, that was the thing I was good at, was humiliating people. And I had a really long client list. And she's like, I did fuck them with a strap on. That pegging men, that was something I definitely did a lot of. But she didn't have to let herself in there. But, it sounds like fun work. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be any good at it, but I would definitely, be a weird thing to try at this age. But is it a weird thing to try? That's the thing. I kind of have been really thinking about, as an older woman, I'm 51. That's, not exactly young. And, I think about earlier, during COVID, the first, we couldn't get our hair done. And I think I had gotten my hair dyed a couple weeks before COVID started. And so then by, halfway through the summer, I had tons of gray, tons of it. And I had my hairstylist carve out like a big chunk of white, and then we dyed the rest of my hair. So I just had like this weird skunky stripe like in the front of my head. And it was cool initially, but then I noticed that I started becoming invisible and people stopped like even realizing I was there. And it was weird. I dyed my hair back and it stopped happening. So I think that's fucked up. But I I think about things that I'll say to myself like, "Oh, I can't wear that. I'm too old to wear that." And then I'm like, "What the fuck does that even mean? Like, what happens if I wear it?" Like, I don't it no one will talk to me. Like, I love seeing like an older lady that's got like her own like her, her style. Everyone loves it. When you see an older lady that has on like fun, cool clothing, you notice her and you're like, look at her being herself. And we all kind of look at that and then we don't think that's possible for ourselves or something. And I don't wear nudes. Like I'm not going to wear like matching separates that are in the same color. Like that's just not the way I'm ever going to dress. Um but I did find myself getting pulled towards that, like seeing things at the mall that were like, like, oh, this is what middle-aged ladies wear. I should probably change, like, like Talbots or Anne Klein. No, Ann Taylor, or maybe Anne Klein. White House Black Market, like house stores that sell neutral clothes that don't give away anything about you. That's something that I feel like all women kind of have to fall into at some point. Or they don't have to, but that's at some point you start getting pushed in that direction. And feeling like you can't do certain things. Like whenever we go to like a water park, I'll ride the water slides. I love riding water slides. I'm usually the only woman over the age of 30 that is on the water slide. And I don't know what happens I know what happens. You start being told that you can't have fun anymore or something. And it sucks. And so again, it's the interrogating the things that we do and making sure that if you're ever saying to yourself, I'm too old to do that, or I can't do that because I'm a mom, or I can't, it's like the shame around that is really fucking annoying. And the pre-embarrassment, the obeying in advance, it's some fucked up shit. So yeah, I think that you can, if you're feeling good, do OnlyFans, if it'll make you feel good, only if it makes you feel good, and got to get them clicks. My family is pretty hard to impress, and I'm kind of stressing about my wedding. Excited about TNJ though. But what actually makes a reception unforgettable? The playlist, the people, the one weird guest. What is a wedding you still think about, and can I recreate that? Obviously the people make the most. The people you invite to your wedding are going to make the most impact on your event. If you're having a 40-person wedding and it's all your family, I'm not saying that can't be about. I have done that. I have done 40-person weddings that are total ragers, but they are few and far between. And a lot of times that's not even something they're even wanting to do. They just need someone there to kind of work through the music, and they just want to have background music. But the people that are at your wedding are the biggest indication of whether or not you're going to have fun. So if I'm in a client meeting and they're like, it's 150 people and it's 80% family, like, I'm not saying that like your family can't get down, but if you only have people over the age of, 40, or not to say that's not even fair. I'm over the age of 40 and I have fun, but family tends to not be as fun to party with. Maybe that's not true either. But I guess the number of friends you're bringing is basically the answer to the question, because your friends are going to stay till the end. Your friends are going to be the ones who are, have memories associated with these songs and you. So, having a guest count, your guest count and who you invite obviously is really huge. The playlist does matter. The playlist has a lot to do with everything, because the wedding should be the soundtrack to the wedding. What the DJ is doing is they're soundtracking the best day of your life. And so when you're thinking about that, think to yourself, like, this is my day. I'm paying a lot of money for this DJ. I get to have all the music that I want, in theory, being played. So, and maybe all is too strong of a word, but we really like to customize it. And so, if people aren't dancing to it, I can play it. Like, I can play anything, during cocktails, dinner, ceremony. So it's making it sound like you. It is making it all about you. Like, it's making it more like really thinking intentionally about every part of the wedding, and not just being like Like, I know DJs that'll like be like, "Oh yeah, they didn't really tell me what they wanted for introduction, so I just picked a song." And it's like, I would never let that happen. I would never in a million years. I might suggest some things and they might choose from the things I suggested, but I would never just be like, "I'm going to figure it out and not tell you what it is in advance." Like, that's not anything that I would ever do, because I feel like it's important for to force the client to think about these things. Um, because, some DJ, if they like, if I had done that for my wedding and someone played "Let's Get It Started" by the Black Eyed Peas as my intro song, which I think a lot of lazy DJs would do if they were just told, like, just put a song on, they would put on "Let's Get It Started" by the Black Eyed Peas. That is, or "All I Do Is Win." That was a big one for a while there. Um, but you want to give thought to every part of it and make sure that you are making sure it sounds like you, and making sure that the people that you have pulling off all of the elements of the night are as invested in it as you are, and want to make that vision come alive. And even if you don't have a ton of vision, hiring people that know. Vendors are also probably one of the vendors that you choose. So, as a company, DJ company, this is something Melissa and I are going to tackle later on, but like, we have to deal with a lot of venues that are trying to, like, we pay the price. We kind of get punished for the bad behavior of other companies. Like, we'll have like venues that'll want us to sign, like, things that basically say that we'll, you know, behave in their venue. They ask for, kind of ludicrous insurance sometimes, like policy levels that we don't have and we don't need. And it's like, because if a venue doesn't require the client to have have vendors that that are insured, that's just very risky to have. Like, your uncle DJ it, or have your friend take the photos, or you just do the floral. Like, when you do those things, you're kind of opening yourself up to the liability that is around those things. Especially if, like, you don't have an insurance policy and that client and that vendor doesn't have an insurance policy. So hiring professional people that can pull this off. You don't need to have a big wedding. By the very existence of wedding, it's all luxury. There's nothing about it that is you have to have in order to get married. You can go to the courthouse, you can get married, and then you can go to Taco Bell and make it, the whole day cost you $30. You can do that. You don't have to do a big wedding. But if you're going to do a big wedding, like if you're going to rent a venue and have 150 people and you're going to have food and all of these things, like, you should do it right and make sure that you're not spending, 80 to $100,000 on, the venue and the floral and the cater and all these things, and then spend, $500 on the person that's going to be, like, you know, making the whole night work, like, running the night, doing all the introductions, running the music, doing all of the ceremony, microphones for toasts. I mean, there's so many things that we do. And a lot of people that will hire their friend to do it, they don't know that stuff. And so if you're not going to have a professional person for this part of it, then you got to ask somebody else to pick up the slack somewhere else, because these things all have to happen. And one of the things I like to say with weddings is that there's no way to save money. Like, you pay for it one way or the other. So if you're not going to get a professional vendor for, one side of it, you're going to pay for it someplace else. Like, when people sometimes have, like, appetizer, they'll only do, like, heavy hors d'oeuvres, thinking that that's going to save them money, and it'll save them money on food and labor, but everyone's going to get fucking wasted. I've never done a wedding that was all cocktails that wasn't just a mess by the end. Which, fine, they had a good time. I mean, everybody was real, real drunk and started becoming crazy. But that's the thing. It's like, if you do heavy hors d'oeuvres, people won't eat enough and they will get too drunk, and then they're drinking more. So that bill is offsetting any kind of savings you would have had by not having to deal with the labor and food costs of, catering, by doing a sit down or family style or buffet dinner, I guess, is your third option for that. The question was, how can we make sure that a reception is unforgettable? And so I think that first and foremost, you need to have, the right vendors that understand your vision, actually having a real vision, not just like, I want my wedding to be unforgettable. How do we do that? It's like, well, how do you do that? You do that by making it personalized, making it sound like you, not stuffing it with every single Instagram idea and Pinterest board that is out there. Like, I did a wedding once where it was, the bride would refer to it as her big fat Greek wedding. And it was at an Italian restaurant. So, But she had everything. She had a mariachi band during cocktail hour. She had an Elvis impersonator that came out. The mascot for the White Sox came and a ball in his. I mean, it was like every single idea she'd ever seen was just. It was like a parade, and the dance set wound up being like 45 minutes because there was all this other stuff that was like, yes, it happened, but it was like there was no theme there. It was just like, I'm going to put as much stuff in here as I can was like the theme. And was it unforgettable? Probably, because people are like, God, there was just so much stuff that happened, but they're not going to remember the things that happened. They're not going to remember what the Elvis impersonator sang because he was only there for one song and then the baseball guy showed up. And so, it's having understanding what is important to you and, you know, making sure that those things happen by hiring vendors that can make that happen. Like I think this was very early on in my career, but I did a wedding at a VFW in Beverly. I actually did a couple of them there. And it's a VFW hall. Like it is like it, had the bar. You walked in through the bar, which was then filled with veterans of foreign wars that were in there drinking their troubles away. And you couldn't do anything about that. There was no buyout for the bar. So you were going to have people that weren't associated with your wedding at your wedding, regardless. I mean, at least in the building, they didn't come back to the reception area. But you walk through this dark, sad bar filled with guys that are trying to drink away memories of napalm. And then you go into the reception site, and then the reception room had permanent Christmas decorations that they didn't cover up, which I thought was funny. She also had a chocolate fountain because Britney Spears had a chocolate fountain at her wedding. And I was the most expensive thing associated with that wedding. Like I cost more than anything that they did. And they were fucking cool. This couple was fucking cool. They had great taste in music. And I don't remember their names or anything, but I do remember that wedding. That was an unforgettable wedding because it was at a VFW hall with a chocolate fountain and the permanent Christmas decorations. But it didn't matter, like that's the thing. It's like that wedding probably all in all cost maybe $10,000, if even. That this was like, 2005 or something. And so, I remember that wedding as being really fun, and it was in one of the cheapest places I've ever been, and I was the most expensive thing there. So, it's like you don't have to spend like crazy, but you need to figure out what's important to you and then spend money on that. Because, you can't get everything. You can have, anything, but you can't have everything. This is a weird one. You work weddings every week. You've seen so many couples. Have you developed the ability to tell if a couple will make it at first glance? I don't think that is something that, first of all, I don't work weddings anymore. I'm more of a hot flash dance lady. But back when I was doing them, that's the thing. I don't know if anybody did or didn't make it. But I've done a lot of weddings for people that I'm sure they're not together anymore. Like, if I'm going to base it, if I am going to anticipate it and base it off of what, if I'm just going to like make a bunch of judgments and not use any research or knowledge behind it, like, well, I'll get into meetings and it's, either there's only one of them there, which is the worst. If there's only one half of the couple at the meetings, then, I get you, there's a conquer and divide around these things, but I feel like music is so personal. And I think that, we maybe even discuss this on other episodes, but I think a lot of people think that they know their fiancés inside and out. And that is, why they're getting married. So it's okay if, only the bride or only the groom or only one half of the couple is attending the meetings that we have as with the DJ. And maybe catering's always together and food is always together, but like the DJ is, for whatever reason, something that only one of them is doing. And when we have had complaints, again, few and far between, but when we get them and we start doing a postmortem on them, I would say a lot of the times only one person was attending the meetings. And that means that only one person was getting in like what they wanted to have. And they assumed that whatever they want is what their fiance wants. But then they're not taking into consideration necessarily the fiance's family. They haven't been to maybe a ton of weddings with that family, so they don't know all the traditions. And so the DJ then gets bombarded with like requests for things that happen at every one of the weddings of her family. And, that half of the family wasn't represented in the meetings. And so that's something, that's leads to complaints. But I guess my point of that is like, are they not attending it because they don't care? If it's an eye rolly, like, or the other side of it is when they're like, I've got a ton of opinions on music and I got the greatest taste in music and I want everything, or it's like either we're not gonna be able to make this sound like me because my taste in music is so good. It's so esoteric and it's so weird that we can't have my taste in music being, you know, played at the wedding. And I'll be like, so just try me. Like, what are you into? And they're like, oh, LCD sound system. And it's like, okay, they've been nominated for Grammys. Let's not act like that's, they're so out there. But LCD sound system is definitely a band that could be played, even if it's just during dinner. The only music that I really, I mean, I wouldn't say no to anything, but like it's when it gets into metal or like a Slipknot situation, that is where you get into a situation where it's hard to kind of work that in. But I mean, one time I had a client, they wanted all like all monster ballads during dinner, like, uh, Sister Christian and More Than Words and Every Rose Has Its Thorn, Girl Don't Go Away, Mad Just Go Away. Great theme songs for weddings. But I did all monster ballads during dinner. And then I use that as an example when people would when I would talk to them about, what kind of music they want to have playing during cocktails and dinner. I'm like, well, at a reasonable volume, you can get away with anything. So, just tell me what you want and I'll make it sound good. Like that's what I do. And I'll be like, one time I did a wedding that was all monster ballads. And, it was like grandma didn't understand what was happening. But every time I hit play, there was like 5 tables of people that were like, yay. So like, and then after that, I wound up doing I did probably like 3 or 4 more weddings where we only did monster ballads during dinner because that was a suggestion that I made in the, like, again, doesn't sound like the couple, but I think like they didn't come to me and say, I want all monster ballads during dinner. That wasn't something they necessarily wanted, but their spirit was such that they're like, oh my God, if we had all monster ballads, the people that would like that's such an us thing to do. And so even though it wasn't specifically their taste, it was a choice that, was them. And it made it sound like them. And that made it, a memorable thing. And it also showed that that they're a team, that they can like roll with new things and, kind of do things together in kind of a fun way. Like that is definitely something that shows me that there's gonna be some longevity in that couple. I had a couple once where they wanted only music that was being played. The only songs you only hear when you're at a Home Depot. Like basically like all like 90s and early 2000s one-hit wonders. Barely Breathing by Duncan Sheik. Uh, Bitch by Sean Colvin. Those Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover. What's that? Tell me all your thoughts on God, because I really like to meet her. Like those kinds of songs. Again, people were coming up to me all night long saying, I remember the bride's name, but like, did they put you up to this? Like, are you, because I know they love this kind of music. And it's like, yeah, they did put me up to this because they hired me and told me what they wanted to hear. And again, I'm sure that Duncan Sheik isn't what they're listening to in their spare time, but they do have they have got a reputation for liking kind of shitty, like, one-hit wonder songs. And so I don't know. I feel like that kind of stuff that shows like humor, they've got a shared situation going on. They're both at the meetings. They both seem committed to it. I mean, I, you know, I do stay friends with some of my old clients. And there are some clients where I'm like, oh, they're still together. Like they were kind of mean to me during during the planning process. I'm glad they still got it together. But, I mean, I'm not a marriage counselor, but I do feel like I've definitely been a part of some weddings where the couples have fallen apart. But I think that a thing to me, if I'm going to be, you know, weighing in on this kind of concept, is just how well they work as a team. And because I feel like a wedding is like the first really big test of your relationship, which is weird when you consider that it's happening when you're tying yourself to them for the rest of your life, ostensibly. And I think that might be why weddings are so stressful and hard. It's like, how can we get through this together? And if we can't get through this, then what can we, like what else can't we handle if we can't, figure out a way to get our family to be okay together and figure out a way for, all of the things that have to come together for a wedding to come together. Like that is a huge test of how compatible you are. And if you are, in the meetings and he's belittling you because you said you liked Taylor Swift and he doesn't like Taylor Swift, and even though she's your favorite band, he's going to say, no, no Taylor Swift. I don't want any Taylor. That always makes my skin crawl. And it happens more often than you would think, where they're talking about their taste in music. She'll be like, oh, I kind of like pop music. I just want to hear like Kesha. And he'd be like, no, I can't have any pop music at this wedding. It's all I ever hear at home. And it's like, well, that music is what's popular on the dance floor. And so you're also telling your wife, your soon to be wife, that the music that she loves can't be heard at the wedding because you hear it too much. Like, that to me that's a dick move. It's a dick move. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just respect and teamwork. I think those are the things that tell me if a couple's going to make it. Again, not that I have any dog in that fight, but yeah, I'm Dr. Ruth now. Ooh, have you learned anything while performing or DJing that secretly applies to negotiating contracts or surviving marriage? I mean, I think I kind of just addressed that with tying it to performance. Part of this question is a little irksome because even though I do DJ, I also own a DJ business that where I've had to really learn how to negotiate contracts. So, I guess maybe I shouldn't be irked by it. Maybe the answer to this is it's not that it's happening while I'm performing, but that's the thing about DJing, especially event DJing, like weddings, is that, there's so much more that goes into it than DJing. I like to say that being a good DJ is like 15th on the list of things you have to be good at in order to do this job. Because, the way to do a good job of DJing is preparation. And so, you need to talk to the client, ask them all the questions, understand the venue, know where, like, is the ceremony's here, cocktail hour's here, dinner's back here. Like, really knowing what you're going into and doing and not just walking in and winging it, kind of like I do with this podcast. It's like, what's the Cicero or Seneca? One of them, it's like luck is preparation meeting opportunity. Like, the preparation is the most important part. And so then when you figured it all out, when you know what you're going to do, and then being flexible enough when you get in there to know that maybe all the preparation, like maybe some of this preparation wasn't right. Maybe, a lot of the times a couple will be like, our friends are total ragers. They're the most fun people in the world. And you get there and they're just like duds. And it's like your friends are not who you think they are. That requires some flexibility because some of the stuff that you were planning for might not hit. So you have to kind of adjust in real time. So part of that is negotiating contracts. But I do think negotiating contracts specifically, I don't know about surviving marriage. I mean, I've been married for, I guess it'll be 15 years, maybe. I think 15 years this year. I mean, I got my own marriage. I don't know if surviving marriage is really something I can really, I mean, I have a good marriage. I like my husband, but I don't know if I can really tell you how to do that. But negotiating contracts, I can tell you about. So, I love negotiating contracts. I love haggling. I love bargaining. I love it all. I love it a lot. But I also know that that preparation is really the most important thing when negotiating anything. You want to know as much about the situation as you can. You want to know as much about the other person too when you are negotiating contracts, because you want to know what they want, what their limits are, like it's all a dance, right? So preparation and knowing your worth is also important, and also knowing what you won't stand for. I guess this is part of surviving marriage. Because, it's like if you are trying to negotiate, let's say you're trying to buy a car and, you're like, I want a Volvo. Well, okay, so the cheapest Volvo you're going to get new, let's say it's for 50,000. I don't know these numbers, but like, let's say it's 50,000. You can't go into the Volvo dealership and be like, what's it going to take to get me down to $35,000? Because that's not a thing. So if you have a $35,000 budget, then look at $35,000 things. Don't try to drag something that costs a lot down to that level, because that's not going to work. And that happens a lot with us. People are like, I met with 3 DJs and I met one that was $900. So if you can meet that price, you got a deal. And it's like, what was the difference between, like, why do you want to work with me? If price is so important, why are you even still talking to me when I cost 3 times that? What makes you, why do you want to work with us if we cost 3 times as more? And that's when they kind of get it, where it's like, you want to work with us because we bring you the value that 3 times 900 costs, is you want the value of what the kind of experience and results that you can get by spending that much more money. And you can only charge that much more money really by having years of experience and, when being flexible, when something doesn't work, trying to figure out a way to fix it. Like when I started, my contract was like 4 paragraphs. And now my contract is, I bet if we print it out, I bet it's 3 pages long. Our contract is ridiculous now, but I use my contract as a cudgel to make it so that I don't have to, it's like my contract is all, if I go through it, there's a story associated with why that clause is in every single one of my contracts. Because it's all in there because a client did something fucked up or something bad happened and I had to fix it and I never wanted to deal with it again. So I made a new a clause in my contract. And so, you want to work with the $2,800 company because they know everything. You don't have to worry about if something bad's going to happen. A $900 DJ, I mean, when they know what I know, they will be charging what I'm charging early on in their career. I mean, if you're not concerned about it being perfect or close to perfect, or then go $900. Again, this comes down to what's important to you. We also have people who, I would say almost 9 times out of 10. When someone comes to us and says, hi, we met with this other cheap DJ and, if you can match it. And we're just like, no, they almost always still work with us. Like it's because they realize that we're worth it. Go into it wanting to do a great job. And I go into every wedding thinking it's going to rule. Like I don't ever, someone actually asked me the other day if I get nervous before DJing. And I haven't gotten nervous before a wedding in years. Because I'm never like, oh no, I've got too many names to pronounce. Or, if I'm nervous about it, it's only because the client maybe snapped at me or something. I don't know, something stressful happened beforehand. But I'm never worried about the dance set. I'm never worried if I'm going to be able to make them dance. I'm never worried about, the thing I'm only ever worried about is the worst part of a wedding is the introductions. That's the worst part of the night for me. And then once I'm through that, everything is gravy. I don't know if this is really answering your question, Nick, but I do think that you need to know. I can't talk about surviving marriage because I don't know what your marriage is, but I can say that negotiating contracts is having as much information as you can and knowing what you're willing to sacrifice and knowing what your non-negotiables are. And I think that's actually good, for surviving marriage as well, quite frankly. Is knowing what you will and won't take and, having all the information. So when you're making decisions, you're not, fucking over the other person. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this random question Q&A with myself. If you guys have any questions, by all means, my email address is Mary@MaryNisi.production, but you can also submit a question through my website. So allupinmyladybusiness.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I guess today we talked about all kinds of things. I have been Mary Nisi. I'm still her. And I'll be back next week with more lady business that you can be all up in. Be sure to like and subscribe. And please share this with a friend. And keep on listening. Have a great day. Bye. Thanks for listening to All Up in My Lady Business with me, Mary Nisi. We'd love for you to like, review, subscribe, follow us at All Up in My Lady Business on the gram. And if you're a female identifying person and you want to dance, you can follow. Everybody can follow it. But if you want to be a part of the magic at Hot Flash Dance Party, sign up for the mailing list to find out where our next party is going to be. And if you are looking for a DJ in the Chicagoland area or anywhere else, money's the same color everywhere. Fly us out. ToastandJamDJs.com has the best. And listen to my radio show. I have a radio show on Chirp Radio at chirpradio.org. That's Mondays, every Monday from 12 until 3 p.m. CST. Today's episode is produced by Shiraz Dada. Theme song composed and performed by, you guessed it, Shiraz Dada. All right, guys. Peace out.